Okay.
Welcome to our next installment of our Dream Job webinar series. My name is Danny Rubin. I'm the founder of our company. We're called Rubin. We provide online resources for business communication skills. And we have curriculum and we have Gmail and Outlook tools. And we also love to do career exploration conversations in which we talk about people's jobs and also, and Justin will get into this, why communication skills are really important in your job with your team and with the customer. So we'll get into that too, because we love to talk about the importance of being a clear communicator to be successful in your job. We have Justin Winter from Holland Road Auto Center in Virginia, and we're thankful he took a few minutes out of his day. And we will talk with him in just a moment about his job. So start getting your questions ready. We also have Amanda Riley here providing sign language services. Thank you very much. And just a look ahead, you know how we like to do these every couple of weeks. So later in March, you'll see an email soon, March 27th. We're talking to a firefighter. And then in April, we're talking to an esthetician. And then in May, a forensics specialist for a police department. So very different jobs, one to the next, but all jobs that you collectively, the teachers that come to our sessions, have requested, jobs you want to see more of. So we're trying to deliver it back to you. And at the end of the webinar today, I'll show you how, if you like these sessions and these conversations, how there's a whole library that we put together of the best moments of all of our webinars that you can have access to the rest of this school year. So I'll explain that at the end. And if you'd like even more of these conversations in bite-size recorded format, I'll show you how to get that. But let's focus first on our guest today, Justin Winter from Holland Road Auto Center. Justin, thank you
Very
for
welcome.
being here. Excited to hear what you have to say. And start with your career history. Tell us how, when you were in school to getting your first job to today. Kind of take us through that
Okay.
journey.
So when I was still in high school, I did vocational training at Votech here in Virginia. Um, Graduated from that. And then in the course of that, there was job opportunities that were provided through the vocational program. And I ended up working at a Nissan dealership for about 3 years. And then after that, that dealership got bought out. So I ended up going to the same company, but a different place, Jeep Dodge Chrysler Ram. And I was there for 6 years. And I became a Chrysler Master Tech there through a bunch of training that the dealerships actually provide. They pay for everything. They just send you, mine was in Baltimore for, a week at a time, come back, work, go back up, so on and so forth. And then there was online training that was also available. And then after that, I decided that the dealership wasn't for me. It's not for everybody. And I came to an independent shop where I'm at now, which is Holland Road Auto. And I've been here almost 13 years now.
And what is your title now?
Shop foreman, I guess.
Shop foreman. All right. While we're talking, I want to encourage the teachers and students to start putting your own questions in the Q&A along the bottom of Zoom. Put your questions and put your name and your school with the questions so we can give you credit. And by the way, Kimberly says we have a class of automotive students watching. So
I saw that. That's awesome.
that's what this is all about. So let's go back to when you're in high school. And then from high school, you got the job at the Nissan dealership. What types of skills were you learning in high school that got you ready to go right into a job?
Well, mainly the vocational training, but math is also quite important. Geometry, I'm a suspension tech, so understanding the angles of how all the suspension set up is quite important. I would recommend if you do want to be a suspension tech, highly pay attention to those skills.
And what is a suspension tech?
Um, so anything related to, well, anything related to how the car rides, pretty much shocks, struts, torsion bars, control arms, ball joints, um, any number of different things can affect how the vehicle drives. Even the tires can. If your tires aren't inflated properly, then it pulls. But understanding how all the angles actually work, doing, for instance, a wheel alignment, is quite important.
I like what you said that you needed the vocational training working on the cars, but also the geometry.
It's
So the
very
students
important.
listening saying, you don't skip that class.
No, not at all.
So you
It,
find yourself using math every day.
yes, absolutely.
Can you think of a recent example that you had to draw upon some math skills?
Well, I just helped one of the other guys here fix an alignment, and I had to measure the degree of camber on the vehicle to get it back into factory specs. So to compensate for that, what the angle is now, I think that one was at like 3 degrees, and it's supposed to be at 0.5 degrees. So obviously there's a little bit of math and geometry involved there. It's not hard math, but it is very
Yeah,
important in how the vehicle drives.
yeah. I love that because I like to ask guests, what classes do you recommend students focus on? And you already hit that, which was the vocational training, if you can get it in high school, and then the other subjects too,
Yeah,
like math.
it all
So
relates.
it all relates. And I'm also curious about, you worked at a dealership, a couple of dealerships, or you kind
Mm-hmm.
of moved with them, and then you came to an independent shop, and you said the dealership world sort of wasn't for you.
It's
What are the
more
differences? What are the differences in like working for a dealership versus an independent shop?
politics. Everything in a dealership is very much scrutinized, and it's not a family environment. Granted, there are great people in the dealerships. I loved all of them for the most part, but the smaller independent shop that I'm at now, it's more like a family than it is a job.
So you felt like pressure in the dealership, like if you wanted to rise, you had to sort of play the game a little
Yes,
bit, and
yes.
you didn't like the attitudes or the egos, or it was just like a
Everything is just numbers driven, which I mean, no matter what, it's numbers driven wherever you go. But just the amount of scrutinization. Okay, so you turn 50 hours one week, you turn 20 hours the next week. You work on commission, you could have a bad day. So, and then you get penalized for it just because, you can't predict, okay, this bolt's going to break because it's rusted. And then you get penalized for not turning as many hours, or somebody just has comments that aren't exactly acceptable because you're not turning the numbers that they perceive you should, as where here, granted, the bottom line is the bottom line and that dollar matters. But that being said, there's not as much pressure and everybody helps each other.
hmm,
Instead of at the dealership, everybody fights against each other. In my
well,
personal opinion, at the four dealerships that I was at, it seemed more like a competition than it did a healthy work environment.
well, I'm sure every dealership is different and students can certainly go and explore on their own, but it is helpful to have a general sense of
The,
workplace environment.
the dealership is amazing for people starting out. I will say that because they will provide you with school training. And that's exactly what I did. I used the dealership for all my training, got all my certifications, and then I just couldn't put up with the politics anymore, so to speak. And I left and came to a smaller
Seems
shop.
like you've been pretty happy here. You've been here a long time, 13
Been here
years.
quite a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So it definitely was the right fit for you. We have some
Not
questions
for
coming.
everybody.
Right, right. And that students have to go just like you got to go find your way.
Yep.
You find what feels right, right?
And you got
But
to find your niche too. If you're good with electronics, absolutely be an electrician on cars, so to speak, because not a lot of people can do that these days.
hmm,
A lot of people don't even understand how it works. Me personally, I like the mechanical side of it better. That's why I'm a suspension tech.
so you're saying that as students go out into the job, they should try to identify a specialty that they
Yes,
become known for, which makes them
absolutely.
more valuable.
Yes, it will make you invaluable
Hmm.
because
There's some,
a lot of
go ahead.
people just don't understand that side of it either.
Yeah, especially because cars are basically like just computers.
There's 13 modules in pretty much every car that's made nowadays. Chrysler Town and Countries have 32.
When you say module, what do you mean?
The computer, the engine
Oh, like
computer,
different
transmission
computer
computer,
systems.
body computer, window
Wow.
computer. I mean, there's miles of wiring in these modern vehicles. And now you have electric cars, which is another niche that is going to be really important here very soon. So
I,
stuff like that.
I want to ask the group, can you tell um, in the chat, please, teachers, ask the students, on average, how many modules, computer modules are in a car? What number did he say? What was that number I just heard? For not the Chrysler Town and Country, which is just a crazy number, but the
Correct.
on
13.
average, very
Yeah.
good. Darren, Nikki, thank you. 13. So he's telling you, find a niche, find a specialty, and you can't go wrong learning about the computers and all the technical side of these cars today. That'll give you an edge in the marketplace. We have a question. I've seen it a few different times. Samantha Vucelich, Carol Marie, Carol Marie asked it. Can you be a mechanic with a learning disability? Any
Absolutely.
thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And I mean, everybody, like I said, everybody has their skill that they're good at. So even if you have a learning disability, it doesn't mean that you can't work on the car. It's just a matter of how much effort you put into it to learn the information. And then it becomes muscle memory. I mean, I've been doing it for over 20 years now almost. A lot of jobs are just come out. I don't
Yep.
even have to look at the bolts. I know exactly what tool I need, how to do it. It literally becomes muscle memory at that point in time.
It's just the repetition
Yep.
gets it down. Um, does your height matter?
Well, um, I'm 6'2", and the lifts go up just enough I can stand under them. So sometimes yes, but if you're working on a car on a lift, they go up about 8 feet. So
Okay.
you got plenty of room to play with.
Okay. Nikki Wright asked, do you need a special license or certification to work on cars?
Technically, no. You can always go get your ASC certifications, automotive standard certifications. Most shops and dealerships like to see that, and generally they give you a little bump in pay for every one you get, but you really don't need one until you get to hybrid electric vehicles and AC. AC systems, you have to have a refrigerant handler's license that allows you to actually pull the freon out of it.
Okay. So you don't have to have a certification, but it would help you get paid a little more, help
Yes.
you advance a little faster if you
And
go
it's all
get
good
different
information to
certifications.
know when you go take these tests.
That again?
They help you in your career field. And you
Okay.
can take one for suspension, you can take one for engines, you can take one for diagnostics, electrical, AC, heating AC. Now there's one for electric vehicles. So everything kind of applies in the same find what you like and stick with it. But I like suspension, but I can still go put in a motor. I can still go do diagnostic. It's just not what I am the best at. And when you work on commission, finding what you're the best at makes your paycheck.
How does it work in your world? You say work on commission. Like, how is
You,
that structured?
you only get paid by the jobs that you actually complete. So whatever your hourly rate is, when you turn in that job, you get, okay, so a brake job pays an hour. I could be at this shop all day long and not do one job and make $0. Or I could hustle and turn out generally about 5 to 10 jobs a day, and I can make 15, 20 hours, but I'm only here for about 9.5 to 10. So I've actually made more hours than I was here.
Because you get hours when you complete jobs.
Yes.
So
So
like
you only get
completing a
paid by what
job.
you turn in.
Okay. So you worked a full day, but if you complete jobs, it's like counts as like extra hours.
Yes. So
So
you
that's
always
the
want to beat the book
commission
time.
structure.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the book says it pays an hour and you can do it in 20 minutes, regardless, it still has to be done correctly. But once you get really good at a few things, for instance, I did a ball joint job the other day. It paid like 5 hours. It took me two.
I like that, because in a lot of jobs, it shouldn't get paid for how long it takes you. If you're good at it and you do it quickly, you should still get paid the same.
Yep.
That actually that makes a lot of sense to do it that way. Someone asked the question. Uh, oh no, Carol Marie asked the question. Think back to like your first job out of high school at the Nissan dealership. What does a typical entry level job pay?
When let's see, when
I know it's going back
I
20 years, so maybe things are different
yeah,
today,
when
but
I started at Nissan, I think I was making $13 an hour, and that was strictly being a lube tech, which is oil changes and tire pressures and filling up the washer fluid and
okay.
checking all the fluids of the vehicle. So nothing really serious. And generally, most mechanics when they first start out, they do that for 6 months or more, depending on your skill set and depending on how much you show somebody that you want this.
Then I imagine starting out today is probably a little more than 13 just because of
I'm
inflation.
sure it
Maybe it's
probably is.
15, 16 or something
Yeah.
like that. Okay.
But yeah,
Well,
20 years ago, that's what.
okay. And that's what we need to hear today. I mean, it's just good information. A lot of questions. We're trying to field them. Aaron says, does working for commission cause tension or intense competition in the shop?
um, Competition sometimes, pressure sometimes, tension sometimes, but it's if the shop that you're at has a decent amount of workflow, nobody really fights. And here in my shop, I help everybody. So I will stop my job to go make sure that Mike, our manager, gets his job done, or Tyler, that was my former apprentice. I go and teach him while I'm still doing my own stuff. So yes, it can be kind of tense sometimes, just in the simple fact that you're worried about your bottom line and your paycheck if you're not getting enough done. But once you get comfortable in this field, it's really easy to not worry about that.
You're just
But
kind of
there's
in the,
always a learning curve.
yeah, but you're in the flow of your day. You're not thinking about what everybody else is doing, or you're just kind of doing your thing.
My job is a little different because shop foreman and I kind of bounce around and help everybody, but your general starting out mechanic won't have that. So it's it's a little different. It's more just you're worrying about your own work and worrying, you could hurt somebody if you don't do your job correctly. Being a tech, you forget to put a wheel back on all the way. I mean, you could legitimately hurt somebody. So you
Mhm.
just got to be patient and careful and make sure you're doing your job to the best of your abilities and move on with your day.
Yep. Okay. Darren's student Nathan says, "Is it are electric vehicles more challenging today?
Um,
Just different challenges."
it's it's really kind of different, yes. For the most part, there's a whole lot less as far as the engine, since it doesn't have one, it has a motor, since it's electric.
Right.
So that system is pretty much gone, but there's still a lot of similar things that happen. I mean, it still has brakes, still has tires, still has suspension, still has all the other systems, but it's a different type of work.
Okay. Okay. Another good question from Nikki Wright in her class. Thank you. Do you have are you like because you're on commission, do you have other benefits? Do you have health insurance?
Yep.
Do you have like what else comes with it besides just the paycheck?
It depends on the shop, honestly, but yes, I have health insurance. My company pays for half of my health insurance. I
Half?
have dental insurance. They pay for half of that. 401k. So, it's a normal benefit package. I get 2 weeks
Okay.
of vacation every year. A little
What
bit more
about
sometimes.
your schedule? Like, do you work do you work weekends? Do you get to choose the days you're on or off? How's that work?
It depends on the shop. Right now, I work 6 days a week.
Six
Uh,
days.
yep, and I've done that for 12 years now.
Is that by choice? Do you have to, or could you do five?
Um, no, I don't have to, but with my position being here, I kind of don't have a choice. But if I need the day off, It's just, hey, I need the day off.
Wow, 6 days a
Granted, when
week.
you start off, probably not the best decision just to start taking days off because this industry is kind of competitive in the fact that not a lot of people want to do this anymore. Not a lot of people want to work with their hands, and it pays to be very adamant about being there to help.
Okay. So do you work like Monday through Saturday?
Yep.
And even on Saturday it's a full day?
No, Saturdays 8 to 2. The rest of the week it is 7:30 to 5.
Woof. Those are long days.
Yes, they are.
Man,
It's a very physically demanding job, also.
yes, it is. And that's every day, 7:30 to 5. I mean, that's more than the sort of the standard business hours for
Yes, it is.
many companies.
But that is dependent on where you go. Like some corporations, like Firestone and stuff, they don't work Saturdays every week. But right now, with the technician shortage around the country, got to keep the company going.
Yeah. Um, there's a lot of questions here, by the way.
I see them all
How
popping
old do
up.
I have to to get a full-time job?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. People are walking around.
How old do you have to be to get a full-time job?
I started when I was 17.
There you go.
I graduated a year early. That was because of myself, obviously, but
So,
I
okay.
started when I was 17. So, and that was a full time job. Honestly, about the same hours I work here at Nissan, changing oil every day.
And another question from Nikki, right? Do you have to wear that uniform every day? Is that required to wear a uniform?
It is highly encouraged.
Why is that?
Well, everybody walking in needs to know that you work there.
Yeah,
It shows my name, it shows where I work, and I don't have to wash them. I turn them in at the end of the week, and somebody else washes them for me. So I don't get grease in my washer.
that seems fair. I think I wish more businesses had you wear your name on your uniform, and that shouldn't just be
It's important.
mechanics because everybody needs to know the person's name, and usually we're too afraid to ask, or they
And
tell you
you
your
build a
name, you don't hear
reputation.
it.
I mean, you get customers come up and you just help them out randomly
What
for whatever reason, and they see the name and they remember you, and then they ask for you when they come back. So
that's right.
you build a reputation with your customer base.
Well, let's segue from into the communication because that flows right into what you were saying. First of all, the communication on your team, right? You said, if you don't tighten a tire well enough, people go out and drive, they can get in a car accident. So what kind of communication do you have with your team? How do you double, triple check the work was done properly, or that if you give somebody a task that they're going to do it the way you want? Like what goes on back there?
Well, here there's really not a whole lot of oversight as far as double, triple checking everything other than your own personal responsibility, but test drives. As soon as you put that car on the ground, if you didn't tighten that wheel, you're gonna know it.
That's correct.
You don't put the brakes on correctly, you're gonna know it. Check engine lights and stuff like that. Some don't immediately pop on again. Some are two trip faults, like evap systems for the gas tank. So that's a little more challenging, other than the fact that you can run diagnostic tests with the scan tool and it'll do an evap test and then it'll tell you, hey, there's still a problem here. You didn't fix it right.
Okay.
Live data monitoring for misfires and stuff like that. You can watch all of that. So you'll know. Um, but like my apprentice, well, he's not my apprentice anymore. I always went back behind him when I was teaching him to make sure that he did it correctly. And if he didn't, I explained to him why. And now he's pretty good.
And is that pretty common to come in and apprentice under somebody?
Not as much today as it used to be, just for the simple fact not a whole lot of people really want to do this job, unfortunately, because it is very physically demanding. And you have to have a whole lot of skill sets to do the job and be
Yeah.
productive with it.
But you're saying it's incredibly in demand, and
Yes,
the harder you work, the more you
100%.
get paid. I mean, you put in the time and you do the jobs, you'll get paid more every day.
Yeah, you will be very surprised how fast you get a job being a mechanic these days because of the lack of mechanics.
I would believe that. I'm also curious about communicating with customers because I think the perception is, oh, they're gonna go look at my car and they're gonna make up a bunch of stuff I gotta do that I don't need to do. And I don't know what they're telling me it costs this much, and I don't know if that's true. How do you and the front office people help develop trust with the customers so that they believe what you're saying to them and they
Well,
trust that it's going to cost what you say?
yeah, and a lot of that goes back to your reputation with the shop and your customer basis. Sometimes you will always have those people that don't believe. That being said, if you're honest and upfront and nice and polite and explain them how they need to hear it, okay, ma'am, your car is misfiring. This is that shuddering feeling you feel. I'm not going to sell you all this other stuff, but I did notice this for future or now if you'd like. But if you want the problem that you came in for fixed, this is what's going to resolve the issue. And it's really just being a good person, honestly. You know, a lot of places have bad reputations for mechanics lying, which is totally unreasonable, and it should not happen. Unfortunately, there are those shops. Highly recommend finding a shop that is kind of like where I'm at, that we're just upfront with you right off the get. This is why you're here. You came to me. I'm a car doctor. Your doctor's telling you one thing when you go to the hospital. Well, I'm your car's doctor, and this is what's wrong with it. And it's mainly just being upfront with people.
Hmm. I think that's great advice because that is the how people feel when they're like, oh, I gotta go get my car fixed. They're gonna tell me it's this huge amount of money, and I don't know. And because like I said, we don't know this stuff. You know this stuff,
Yeah,
and so we're
and it's a great
trusting
skill to
you.
have because it'll save you tons of money if you learn how to
Oh,
fix your own car.
I bet you've saved a lot of money working on your own cars over the years.
I could not even begin to tell you how much money I've saved.
Oh man, thousands and thousands.
Granted, though, the tools are expensive, so
Right. There's still a cost,
but
but I
yes,
know what you're saying.
it's a very good skill to have.
We have a couple other questions that popped up a few minutes ago. I want to get to them. Samantha asked, "Can you be a mechanic with rods in your back?" Do you know what that refers to?
Yeah, I think every mechanic eventually has back problems, unfortunately, just from being bent over all the time and picking up really heavy things. But yeah, you can as long as it's not debilitating you to the point where you're miserable when you go home.
Okay.
Nobody wants to live like that.
Okay. And what's easier to work on, older models or newer models?
50-50 split. Newer models are a lot more convenient in a whole lot of ways. Older stuff's a lot easier when it comes to the technical side of it. There's a whole lot less electrical systems in your 80s cars compared to your 2020s cars.
Right.
So
But some of the
it's
parts
really
are maybe
kind of,
harder to find and
yes,
things you don't remember how to do because it's so old or yeah.
absolutely.
So
And
they
those
can go
tools aren't really around anymore. You
right.
got to dig through your box and go find it because you haven't
Yeah.
used it in 5 years. So it's kind of a 50-50 split.
Yeah. That makes sense. We're just about at 1:30. I want to take a quick pause, explain to the group how to get more conversations like this, and then we'll come back to you, Justin, for just a quick wrap up. So hang tight 1 second.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to share with the group. Now, I mentioned this at the beginning. So one of our company's newest resources is called Aspire. And Aspire is a library of the best moments from all of the webinars that we do. So we've talked to Justin today. We talked to almost 70 other people across different industries in Virginia, all over the country, sometimes all over the world. And I want to show you the jobs that we've talked to. So everybody look at my screen right now and just skim around. This is the first half. Health science, STEM, hospitality. Take a second and read. Video game developer, farm tech, major league sports executive, sports agent, ultrasound tech, all kinds of people, plus business management, public safety and trades, and marketing. Talk to a lawyer, chief of police, a welder. We talked to an Amazon account executive, social media, an influencer, all these cool people. And if you would like to listen to the best moments from these conversations, you can do so this semester at no cost by requesting access to Aspire. We've taken the best moments of all the jobs and put them in a library for you. Very, very easy to just hop around, play a clip, have a class discussion. We have discussion questions as well as certificates, and it's all organized. If you would like Aspire, all you need to do, and I'll put this in the chat, is request time with Chelsea on our team, who some of you may have met before. Pick a time, a short meeting, and we'll give you credentials to access Aspire. No cost for the rest of the school year. So it's there for you if you would like it. And we want more teachers to be aware of Aspire because it's now over 250 video clips. So you will never run out. Middle school, high school, any age relevant. So I put the link in the chat right now. If you would like to have access to Aspire, book a quick meeting with her and we'll give you the login credentials and you can explore it. Okay, that's all it is. It's a simple thing, but we want to get Aspire out in more people's hands. So there's your offer for today. Well, let's wrap up with Justin. And we had some excellent questions today. I mean, really great.
Absolutely.
And oh, here's a good question from Darren Snoot's class. If you've worked on a lot of cars, what was one of the most challenging cars you've ever worked on? Does any one particular one come to mind?
Yeah, Volkswagens.
That's a quick answer.
Yeah. They're just built different. Volkswagens, BMWs, Volvos, they're just different. There's a whole lot more specialty tools that you need, and they're a pain.
German engineering.
Over-engineered.
Over-engineered.
Yep. When I went to the Chrysler schools, I literally had one of the Chrysler engineers tell me, I didn't build it to make it easy for you to work on. And that always stuck with me because
why would they build it to make it hard?
Thank you. that was my initial response to it, and I never got the answer from that one. They build it to make it hard because the assembly line works.
Because the assembly line, like they're flying the cars off the line, so why change it?
Yep.
Okay. And then Aaron says crazy German engineering. So
Yes.
You're not alone in that opinion. If the students are watching right now, they're in school, think about you back in high school and they want to get, maybe they're working on cars through vocational classes, but let's say they are or they're not. Are there things they could do? Could they go work at a shop in the summer and be kind of a shadow and help? Or
yeah,
what
absolutely.
could they do right now?
A few years ago, we had a couple of high school students that came into our shop, and they kind of shadowed me and just kind of watched and learned, and eventually got to do basic, oil changes, so to speak, put an air filter in, but they still learned how to do the job by watching a professional tech.
Did they get paid?
A lot of, one of them did, one of them didn't. One of them was just there for a vocational credit to watch. The other one wanted the job. Yeah.
Getting something out of it. It's not just for nothing. You get credit or pay. Okay.
They got paid with knowledge.
Hey, sometimes that's worth a heck of a lot.
It ain't free.
Truth. Well, I just want to thank you for being here, Justin. I thought you were excellent. Questions were great. Super substantial, conversation here. A lot of good stuff. So we'll pick out the best stuff and put it into our Aspire platform. So you'll live on forever there, Justin, with the best things you said. And
thank you, sir.
I'm sure I'll see you soon when I pop in. So
that you will.
Thank you very much. Hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Hope you got nice weather where you are, warming up a little bit. And we'll see you in a couple weeks for our firefighter conversation.
Y'all have a good one. Thanks for having me.
Justin. Thank you, Amanda. Bye-bye.
Bye.